All right, everyone. Welcome to today's Coyotes Coach Chat. And we're joined by Bear, our head coach of the Arizona Coyotes. What a treat to have him on. So thank you, everyone, for joining us today. We've also got Joe Bonnet on from USA Hockey. And we'll just start off by going around and introducing ourselves. And then we'll get into it. So Bear, go ahead and you can start first.
So my name is André Tourigny. Everybody call me Bear around the world. So I'm head coach of the Coyotes. That's my first year. I've been about at every level. Coach from Pee Wee to junior major to World Championship, World Junior, under 18, Linka Gretzky tournament. So I've been a little bit everywhere. I'm from Quebec, Canada, from a small city from Nicolette. So it's my pleasure to be with you.
All right, Joe, you want to go next?
Yeah, hi everybody. It's me again, back. Joe Bonnet, USA Hockey ADM Regional Manager, and not presenting today. And I'm here to spend time with Christina and definitely listen to Bear. And I want to thank the Phoenix Coyotes for partnering up with USA Hockey and putting this on. And thanks, Bear, for your time today.
Terrific. And I'm Christina Kehoe. I am a marketing manager for the Arizona Coyotes. I'm also a Mike's coach for the Arizona Cachinas. So I'm just like you, just absorbing this moment as well. Just a quick piece of housekeeping. We will have Q&A available after the chat. So if you have any questions, please put them in the chat or the Q&A box and we'll get to them as they come in. If there's questions that are super pertinent to something that Bear is talking about in the moment, I might stop Bear and ask that question then, but for the most part, most of the questions will be held to the very end. So please add those in. We'd love to hear them. We'll have about 15 minutes of presentation from Bear, followed by about 15 minutes of Q&A afterwards. So let's get started. So Bear, if you don't mind just sharing your story about how you got into coaching to begin with, I think that's a great way to kick it off.
That's an interesting one because I'm not a former player. I wish, but I'm not. I played all my life, passionate. I thought I was an NHL player, but I wasn't. So I started as a young coach. I was 20 back then. I was about 24 years old, 23 years old, and I wasn't coaching minor hockey. I was coaching Pee Wee and coaching Bantam that year. And the local major AAA organization at their summer camp, and they asked for a guest coach to go there and to ask coaching the team during the summer for the game, the inter-squad game. And I went there and I was there from the morning to night and was really passionate and so excited. I thought it was the best day of my life every day. And the head coach who was there got a promotion the following year, and he got the job in junior major in Canada in the CHL in Shawinigan. And he needed a coach to help for his training camp as well. They had 4 teams and kind of to monitor a team. And he called me and he asked me if I was available. So I went there for the training camp. And during the training camp, their scout from the area where I'm from got a head scout job in Halifax in another team. So they had no scout, and the season was already started, and they needed someone who had a lot of passion just to tell them about the player in the area and everything. And so they call me and they say, we cannot pay you, but if you want to do that for a year, and cannot guarantee you a job next year, but if you want to do it this year, I did not ask any question. I said, for sure, I'm doing it. And I was everywhere. Finally, I did about all the province. I was driving everywhere, and they were telling me every second week, hey, you don't have to do that. You're responsible just for that little. But I was so passionate. And then 2 years later, they offered me a job as assistant coach. And then I became assistant coach. 2 years later, 4 years later, I became a head coach of my own team in junior major, and I stayed there for 11 years. And following that, NHL and all of it. So that was really for me to be in the arena, to be passionate. And I was a minor hockey coach who showed a lot of passion. And it's about hard work, passion, and open-minded, always learning from everybody. I always pick mind of everybody. And I never had a big ego to stick to my gun. I try to learn from everybody. I always think someone is better than me at something. I need to find what they're better at and make sure I'm getting better out of it. So that's the long story short.
Fantastic. All right. Well, we're ready for you to take it away when you're ready.
There we go. So I will share my screen. I have a small PowerPoint, but I have about for an hour and a half to do in 15 minutes. So I will try to go really fast with my accent. I hope I won't lose too many people, but long story short, bench management is often a topic we talk a lot as a coach. We love the game. We love to be behind the bench. We love the action. We love the adrenaline. Okay, that's good. But what really you have to do behind the bench? What's your job there? What's your objective? There's way more to do than what you think. I see a lot of coaches in minor hockey, and just to put everything in perspective, in 2013, I was coaching junior major, yeah, but I was coaching my son in the Pee Wee as well. Matter of fact, I went into the Pee Wee tournament in Quebec and everything. So it's not like I'm that coach who coached NHL for 20 years and doesn't remember how it was when you were Pee Wee. I know exactly what's your reality, and still my son are 21 years old. They play university right now, but the point is, when you're a coach, you have a job to do behind the bench, and it's not about saying to your player, hey, pass the puck here or shoot or put it out or this and that. You have way more than that to do. So what's your objective? What the impact of the bench management? Get the best of each player, each of your player. That's the first thing. Getting the best of your player in their role first, whatever the level you coach. When you coach, yeah, Christina, you coach you have better player who make points, but you have that player as well, and they need to feel important in their role. And I'm not saying you need to put them in the role that defensive role, whatever. No, but they have something important to bring to the game tomorrow. It might be a block shot. It might be a good back check. It might be something. And you need to, first of all, get the best of all of them in their role. What is their potential? If it's all about goal and assist, well, your defensive defenseman, I'm not sure he will be really excited to play for you. So I'm not sure he will feel like $1 million when he does his job. So it's important to exploit that. Build the self-confidence in each player. Make them feel important, feel like they belong. That's super important. And I take the example, I will take an example in our team. Okay, you have Clayton Keller, really good player, really competitive, play 20 minutes a night. Great. But I have Liam O'Brien as well, who is there to defend his teammate, bring physicality. He's tough like a nail. He's great human being. He's everything. He's playing about 9 minutes a night. But how can I make Liam O'Brien feel like $1 million? And that is by bench management. Yes, I can talk to him. I can give him a pat on the back. I have to. I agree with that. But at some point, you need to have something to show for. So the game Liam played 11 minutes, I showed him respect. I showed him, really proud of your performance. I'm really proud of the way you played tonight. You helped. For him, it's worth a lot to not play 8 minutes. He played 11 minutes that night because of his role. Because, example, yesterday he was playing and he played a really good game and he played more minutes and he was there on key situation. For him, it meant so much. So you have player like that in your team. You have player who maybe they might even be in the wrong level. Maybe they should be in the lower level because they're not really good. I understand that. But the game is playing above his own expectation. Coach, it's your job. It's your job to make him feel like $1 million a day. It's make sure you make his day today because he gives you all. And it's same thing for your best player who maybe today doesn't have it. But that's important as well to be aware of that. And I will talk about those things in a second. Be true to your value and your identity of your team. I like to say that, and I will talk about it a little bit later, but when I watch your team play, I should know what's your value and what's your identity by the way you manage your bench. By the way I manage the bench, you can know exactly what's important for Bear. And you will see, if you see the Coyotes, the players who are very competitive, they play more with me than they will play for another coach who, for him, it's maybe he has different values. It's nothing wrong with that. Maybe for him it's skill, maybe for him it's hockey sense, maybe for him it's something else, it's focus, or it's something else. For me, I value a lot of competitive player, but if you watch the way I manage my bench, it showed. You can feel it. What I hate, for me, it's not about you, it's about your team. Hockey is the only sport, is a team sport, who the coach stands behind the player. Soccer, basket, baseball, football, the coach is in front of the player. In hockey, that's where you belong. Stay in there. It's often we see too many coaches who try to take too much room. That's not your job. You're not giving the show. It's the player. Stay where you belong. Stay behind the player and support your player. You're in the people business. Your job is to make your player better, to get the best out of them. Don't forget about that. You're not coaching the name. That's a little bit what I was saying before. For me, it's easy to put Clayton Keller 25 minutes on the ice, but that doesn't mean it's good coaching. Clayton Keller has to do something in that game to play 25 minutes. Yesterday, he played almost 25 minutes. There's a reason why. Not because he's a good player. It's not good enough for me. Have the courage of your conviction. If you say to your team, then your value or what's important for you, it's whatever. Like I said before, for me, to be competitive is to be relentless is really important. But make sure you have the player who is not have the courage to take the decision in that function. And again, I know you're coaching minor hockey and everybody is playing, but there's a way to do that. The big face-off, the end of the period, the start of the game, those kind of things are something for you that maybe doesn't mean much, but for a 10-year-old kid or a 12-year-old kid, it means a lot. It can mean a lot. Oh, sorry. I talked about it a little bit earlier. You're not a spectator behind the bench. You're not there to watch the game. You're there. You have a job to do. Have a plan. Be prepared. Have the courage and be ready. That is, John Wooden was saying that the people were talking about him. He knew, example, little Johnny had a problem with a certain situation. When that situation was happening, John Wooden was ready. Boom. He was ready to make an intervention. It was for practice, for game. He was always ready. He was prepared. He had a plan and he knew what's going on and he had the courage. It's not about ego. Nobody should have ego, including the coach. And talk is cheap. For me, there's nothing worse than the coach who arrive in the room and blame the player for the player to not do something. And then when you look after the game on the ice, example, you say to your team, they're not working hard enough or they're not working for each other or whatever, but your best player is the worst of it. And at the end of the game, he's on the ice. What's the message you send at your team? The wrong message. Talk is cheap. You can talk as much as you want. If you don't walk the talk, doesn't work. Doesn't work. If you don't have to yell, you don't have to yell, little Johnny. Little Johnny is not on the ice at the end of the game and he's your best player. He knows. You don't have to say it. He knows. It happened with us this year with a really good player at some point. His ice time was, he knocked at the door and he said, why? I said, what do you think? He knew. He knew right away. He told me. He said, because of this or that. I said, exactly. He told me I'm in that many years. I always been in those situations. I said, yeah. But I said, with us, that's the way it is. I told you that's what you need to do. You didn't do it. So you didn't play. So I say, do it, you will play. I have no more problem with this player. Never complain to me anymore because he knows what it is. So talk is cheap. Be ready, have the courage to do it, and have a plan. So your team identity and your value must show clearly in the way you manage your bench. I talked about it a little bit earlier. Okay, the other thing is by the ice time, but as well by the role. Okay, that's important as well. You can say, if I ask you one-on-one, all of you, what you want, you will tell me you want a team who's tough, who's skilled, who's fast, who has hockey sense, who has character, and all of it. But in reality, you need to pick. There's a say, if you have too many values, you don't have any. You know, you need to put priority, and that takes time. I remember when I was a young coach, I was going at some conference, and the coach were saying that you need a team philosophy, you need values. I was building something like it looks really good on paper. With the time, I realized, okay, who am I, and what kind of team we have. Sometimes I have to adjust who I am because my team is different. That's the team I have in minor hockey or whatever. That's different. But you need to have a clear identity as a team, and your bench management has to reflect that. So we'll talk about it a little bit later. Reward the player who perform above expected. I talked a little bit about it. I will try to come back on it. Start the game, start of the period, reflect the performance. So there's a big chance for the Yotes next game. This Clinton Keller, Nick Schmaltz, and Travis Boyd will start the game. Because last game, they were in our DNA, in our value, they were A1. So for me, it's a reward. You play like a Yotes, you start the next game, or you just start the next period. And who will start the second period? I assume it will be the line who played the best in our identity in the first period. And I think, especially in minor hockey, that was all in junior, was always like that. In the NHL, there's a business. Your fourth line might be the best line in the first period, but they put McDavid on the ice to start a second. Maybe it's not a good idea to put your fourth line there, and as a reward, especially, it's not really a reward to play against that line. So, but they need to know you saw they perform well, and they need to have their little candy there. There's a little reward. You want your player to know the coach see it when I perform above expected. When I can be the defenseman number 5 and 6, you cannot start them the period maybe, but they probably should go there for the second shift. And it's the same thing. I remember just a quote, Joe Sakic, and one day I asked him about different coach he had, and he talked to me about Bob Hartley, and he really liked Bob. And I asked him why. He said, Bob Hartley, I was playing 18 minutes a night every night. When I was playing well, I was playing 22. But I knew I will play my 18 minutes. But I knew every night when I was showing up at the rink, I had something to earn. If I was performing, I was playing 22 minutes. And Joe is a guy who loved having ice time. So he said every game I was my motivation to play well enough so I could have my 22 minutes of ice time. But in the same time, the coach respect me enough, I had my 18 minutes. I like that for a player. I like my player to think, if I play well tonight, I will have 2-3 minutes more. And every player wants that. Every player at every level. Game situation, face-offs, even in minor hockey. You know, I'm not talking about playing a player more than the other player, but let's say you have a center who's righty, you have a center who's lefty. Why? Is the face-off is on the left? Put the left-hand center there. If the face-off is on the right, put in the right. I'm not saying to play the righty 15 minutes more than the other guys for face-off. At some point, you can switch. The zone is the same. The zone, the time of the game, the time of the period. I think I will talk about it a little bit later, but there's key moment in the game, and it's your job, coaches, to see it, to feel it, to know it. And that is, we often talk about start of the period, end of the period, after a goal. It's more than that. You need to feel it sometimes. Sometimes, okay, the opponent, they're pushing here. They're taking the momentum. We need to do something to stop the bleeding now. It might be 14 minutes to go in the second period, but you need to know that's a key moment right now. And it's a key face-off. It's a key moment. And I'm not saying this guy should play more than the other guy, but in that moment, you need to stop the bleeding. You need to make a difference here, maybe. So same thing for a special team, for face-off. If you look, example, our team, we're struggle a lot on special team. If you look our face-off, it's one of the reasons. If you're on the power play, you need to win that draw, because if instead to have a 2-minute power play, you have a minute 40 of power play or a minute 30 of power play, because they clear the puck and now you're chasing the game. You don't start with the same energy, and everything is different. You need to win the face-off on the power play, and you need to win it on the PK, because if you play against the best player and they start with the puck, okay, now you give them confidence and you give them momentum, and you don't put a doubt in their head. So important, the face-off, the side of the face-off, the zone as well. You have high-end offensive player, but you have as well a really good defensive player. And I was talking earlier about giving a role to a player, making feel he belongs. It might be your third line center, but if you tell him, it's an important face-off, it's in our zone, I want you to take him, that change everything. For him, it works a lot. For him, it's a key moment. He will go there with a lot of pride, win that face-off, or even if he doesn't win it, he will know you trust him for that face-off. And if you just roll all the time and you don't take advantage of those little situations in the game, you lose an opportunity to give a purpose to some player, to make them feel really good, So that is one of the situation. I have a plan B. I always have a plan B. When I look my card at the start of the game, I say, okay, what if Clayton Keller doesn't play well today? Who can I put there? Who can I put there in my lineup? So I will say, okay, it might be this guy. If this guy or this guy are the two option I can put there. What if Travis Boyd is not playing well today? And I go like that, all my player. What's my B plan? What can happen if this or that player doesn't go really well? And which switch I can do? Because when you're behind the bench, you have emotion. But the game has no emotion. The game's going fast, but you have emotion. So you need to be prepared. So when that happened, you say, okay, before the game, I said, I can put the player A or B, but maybe you will say, no, I don't think it's a good idea. Or you will say, okay, I know I was ready for it. I was ready. My third line center is not winning any face-off today. Okay, what can I do? Who I can put there? What's my option? And you need to be prepared. So that's before the game. And that's a discussion sometimes, or I say sometimes, I should say often, or I have a discussion with my assistant coach. I am Mario Duhamel. I coach with him for 11 years now. And often we talk and we say, okay, if that doesn't work, what can we do? Who can we put there? What's the option? And every game at some point in the NHL, it's 82 games. Sometimes it come back to one or two discussion, but even when we were junior, we're starting, we always had those discussions. So we were prepared. I talked a little bit about the key moment, the momentum of the game. It's time to push the pace. Sometimes you have the opponent in there. You have them. They're on your web. They cannot get their head out of the water. You need to push. That's the moment. Maybe you need to push. It can be the reverse. They have the momentum. Again, it's an opportunity for us to have a few players in your team who are your energy player. I call them the CEO, Chief Energy Officer. And they know who they are in our team. And sometimes I turn to them and I say, you need to turn that game around here. We need energy. We need something to happen. And those guys, now they feel like, okay, it's my time to shine. As much as Clayton Keller, when we have a power play, he feels like, okay, it's my responsibility here. But those third line player, they need those moments as well to feel important in your team, to feel they matter to you, coach. They matter to you because when it's tough, and now you say, hey, my CEO, I need you. We need to turn the momentum. We need the momentum back. They go on the ice, they're on mission. And some more often, they're not your best player, but they have a specific role in your team, which now they can go and they can turn that game around. They can try. It can be toughness at certain, depends about the level you are. We talk about Liam O'Brien or other guys in our team who they can be toughness sometimes. We get pushed around a little bit. It's your job, it's your time, it's your moment in the game, and they feel important in the team because they have a role like that. But it's your job behind the bench to see those situations and to take the opportunity to give those guys their chance to help the team. The 6-on-5, 5-on-6, my opinion on that is, first of all, we talk about the strategy, what we will do at 6-on-5 or 5-on-6 before the game. Has to be done before the game. During the game, it's too late. Like I said, the game's going fast. There's emotion. Your job as a head coach is to know who you will put on the ice. The assistant coach, their job is to have the board and X and O's and who's going where, because the plan is already put in place. But you will never see me with the board. I ask a timeout with a minute to go. We pull the goalie. I don't have the board. I have a game to coach. I'm coaching the energy of the player. Make sure I have the right guys on the ice. Make sure I have the right center man out there. If the faceoff is on the right, I need a righty. If faceoff is on the left, I need a lefty. I need someone to have a presence in front of the net to recover loose puck. I need my shooters. I need to make sure I put the right guys out there. And that, for me, you can have an idea before the game who will be there, but you need, again, to be ready to reward some player. You know, we had some game, I think it's 2 weeks ago, where Antoine Roussel was on the ice on the 6-on-5 because he earned it. He was really good in that game, and that was a message for everybody. Hey, if you perform like that, we have time for you, and we will reward you. So I think that goes a long way. The player knows, there's room for us if we do what we have to do. The other topic we can talk is when do we pull the goalie? That's, if you remember a couple of years ago, Patrick Roy started to pull his goalie with 4 or 5 minutes to go, and that was brand new in the NHL before it was just the last minute. And it started when Patrice Bergeron and Zdeno Chara was against us in Boston, and we pull our goalie with 2:30 to go, and they stay there for the entire 2:30 because we ask a timeout, they ask a timeout, and they were so good. There were no room for there. We could not come back in the game. So Pat, after the game, said, what if we pull the goalie with 4 minutes to go? They won't be able to stay there for 4 minutes. It's impossible. So at the beginning, you know, we were frustrated a little bit. We roll our eyes and we say, what a stupid idea. That's wrong. And then 15 minutes later, you say, you know what? That might not be a bad idea. So later on during the season, we had an opportunity, did it. It works because now you get second line, third line on the ice, and he started to do it even earlier when we were down by 2, because normally in the NHL around 5-6 minutes, that's the last shift of the fourth line. So Pat was saying, when they put their fourth line, we pull the goalie. And, you know, when you're down by more than 1 goal, it was pretty effective. So that's the idea. At the end of the game, if you wait the last minute, your opponent will put his best player there. You will have to beat their best. So if you extend a little bit the time, well, you have a chance maybe to catch them with player with less quality. The matchup depends about your level, but there's a lot that goes in the matchup. There's a player size. Can they compete physically against each other? You know, sometimes we have example. I remember when we were in Colorado, we had Patrick Kane. Our first string of defensemen with Eric Johnson and Jan Heda, which big body, were strong physically, was not a good matchup. We were kind of, okay, that's Patrick Kane will go around those guys. No good. We cannot do that. We had our second pairing defenseman, where we had André Tourigny, who's a mobile defenseman. That was a better matchup, even if it doesn't make sense when you look at the names, but when you look at the size of the player, the speed, the skill set, was a better matchup. So that is something you should be aware. Example, if you have a really strong, solid defenseman defensively, or their feet are so, if you play Edmonton, you're better to play those guys against Draisaitl, because if you play them against McDavid, that will be fast. They will be in trouble. So the matchup has to match the skill set. Keep the home ice advantage. I hate when the opponent decide when your best player are playing. Meaning if example, I'm on the road and the opponent match their first line always again, let's say my second line or my second line. Well, I will make sure my second line always take face off in the offensive zone. So their best line will always take face off in their zone. So they always start 200 feet from our net. So if I'm a home team, I make sure Clayton Keller doesn't have that treatment. I don't, if I say, okay, tomorrow I match them against whatever their first line, and their first line always take face off in our zone. I don't want Kels and Schmaltzy and Boydie to play always in our zone. So I want to make sure they don't decide how I use my player. So that's just my opinion. As well, make sure your opponent doesn't take it for granted. Sometimes switch it up. Make sure he doesn't do what I just explained. So he doesn't always take advantage. As well, I think my philosophy on matchup is at some point it's too much. I rather coach my bench, my player, make sure I have rhythm. And because when you match at some point, there's some player who lose the rhythm, and I don't like that. Attack their weakness, see quickly who perform well and who don't. That's can be in your matchup, Yeah, like I said, your first line play against the second line, but their second lines kind of have an edge on your first line. Maybe you should change the matchup there. And on the other way around, when it's going well, don't touch anything. Yeah, we're good there. The matchup is good. We have advantage, but sometimes you're better with your third line, maybe against the first line, if your first line get slashed by their first line. So you need to be aware and be alert behind the bench. Okay, get the best of each of your player in their role. What is your potential? I talked already about that. So try to win really, 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 really fast to talk about a lot of topic. I would like to have questions so I can answer more what was the area wasn't clear, because I tried to give a lot of information, but like I said, an hour presentation in the 20 minutes was a little bit tried to go fast, and I went quick on some topic.
Did a great job. We've got a few questions going, but we definitely have some time for some more. So if anyone has any, please go ahead and enter them in. The first two questions that we got were very, very similar in nature. How do you deal with a frustrated or upset player? And then the caveat on the second question is that one coach has a son who's also learning to play goalie and seems really upset, but then still wants to keep playing in that particular position. And he's talking about that 3-second mindset or the 3-second memory of a goalie. So really just how do you deal with players that are upset or frustrated? And then maybe how do you kind of teach a mental mindset as well?
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. First, I think the mental part of the game is really important, and is probably the part of the game you put the less time. You may have a workout, off-ice workout. You may have a skill session. You have practice. You will work on your team play. But what do you do for the mental part of the game? Probably nothing, or that. And that is something I say to the player. The player always say the mental part is the most important. when I talk to them, I did that a lot with our player this summer. When I talked to them, I got the job and I said, okay, mental part is really important. Okay, what are you doing this summer for your mental game? I said, you probably have a power skating coach, you have a skill coach, you have a nutritionist, you have everything. What are you doing for the mental part? The player, exactly. So we all know it's important, but what are you doing? So first and foremost, we have session every second week with kind of, it's not a psychologist, it's a consultant in communication and leadership, and that's really important. And for me, behind the bench, the player will react a lot like you as a coach. When the thing's not going well behind the bench, when you're not happy about your team, how do you react? Are you starting to yell? Are you blaming everybody? If you do that, that's possible. Your player will do the same. That's possible because attitude is a reflect of leadership, coach. So that is one. So for me, I always say there's no two set of rules. So if that happened once, I will talk to you. Happened twice, I will cost you probably a shift or two. And if it happened again, well, like I said earlier, talk is cheap. You can get in an argument with him, but talk is cheap. Why you do that? Just set the tone of what you want, how the thing will work here with our team. That's the way. And adversity may not happen, will happen. They will have adversity every game. There's no such thing than playing 60 minutes. That's the opponent is playing as well. And you will make mistake and they will get the momentum and something you will not be happy about. You coach and the player. Okay. How do we react in adversity? Who we want to be as a team and hold your player accountable to it. So it's go back a little bit to what I was saying earlier about value and identity. That's how we do things. It's clear for everyone, and there's no two set of rules. Can be your best player, can be your defenseman number 6. The game has no emotion. If you start to have two set of rules, oh, little Johnny do that. Okay, little Johnny's a pretty good player, but Joe not that good. So Joe, okay, your bench. No, that doesn't work. Now the player call your BS. You say, okay, no, okay, that there's two set of rules here. No, make it simple on you coaches. One set of rules. Even for everybody, it's simple. I often say I'm not smart enough to have 22 set of rules. It's one set of rules. That's how we react, and that's tradition. It's black and white. It's clear for everyone, and that's what we're doing. That doesn't mean the player cannot be frustrated. That doesn't mean he cannot have emotion. It's the reverse. We want that. But he knows when he's coming back on the bench, he may make a mistake, hand on the shoulder. That's, hey, okay, we're good, buddy. I understand. We'll move on. And if that keeps going, but there needs to have consequence. They needs to have consequence. That is how we treat that with the Yotes. And the other thing I will go further is you need leadership in your team. There's a say right now in hockey about leadership by example. Yeah, but no, in a sense of leader, you want to be a leader, there's responsibility that goes with it. It's not just, oh, I just do my thing and that's the way I'm a leader. No. You want to be a leader, there's responsibility. You want to be a doctor? Yeah, you need to go to university for a long time. That goes with it. That's you cannot do any other way. You want to be a leader? Okay, there's responsibility. It's not just by example. That's mean when one of your teammates loses his mind on the bench, you need to do something about it. Because if you don't do something about it, it's your job, leader. Attitude reflect leadership, captain. If you don't do anything about it, don't expect your teammate to own the situation as well. So that is another part of your leadership needs to know it's their responsibility as well, and something has to be done.
Great advice. How do you manage or work with a player that may disagree with the role you've given them?
Yeah, that happened, and it will happen in every team every year. I don't, even in my team in the NHL level, all my player wants more. I never met a player who told me, yeah, that for me, I have too much. I wish I have less. They all want more, and that's normal. I think at some point you need to be a matter of fact. You need to explain, and there needs to have as well kind of a possibility of growth for him. Who sometimes, even on my level, I'm kind of okay. That's what you have to do to improve your role. That's what the role you want for me. That's the reason why you don't have it. And now you need yourself, coaches, to be a bit accountable to it. There's a player in our team. It happened this year, and I told him, okay, you want to play at that position. Those are the three things I'm looking for. If you don't do those, you won't. Not this year, no next year, not in 10 years. You cannot play center for me if you don't do those three. If you don't win face-off, if you're not really competitive defensively, and you don't stay underneath the puck on the breakout, you won't play center for me. You won't. So you want to play center? Okay, you do those three. That's for me. And if he does it, now it's my job. And I told him, if you do it, now it's my job to find you the role and the ice time you want. But you need to be honest with them on why they don't have the role they think they deserve or they want, and let them earn it. That's what you want. You want to get the best out of them. So little Johnny is on the second line on the left wing, and he wants to be on the first line. There's a reason why he's not on the first line. Maybe it's his speed. Maybe it's his work ethic. Maybe it's his physicality. Maybe he doesn't protect the puck good enough. Maybe he doesn't see the ice well enough. So you can tell him he needs to be a better playmaker or whatever. But you need to give him reason why and what he has to do to make it happen. And if you make it happen, good job, coach. You're a better coach. You're a better coach because you have better player. So you're a better coach. You improved little Johnny. Little Johnny now is a first line player. Good for you.
Here's a question. How do you involve your team leadership? And I know we don't have a captain this year, but we have alternates, but captains and alternates during a game to support you. And then also, how do you maybe involve your other assistant coaches as well to help support you during a game?
Okay, that's two good questions. The first, the captain is a kind of there's less and less. There's less and less captain for many reasons. I think people change and everything. Now you need leadership group. You need, for me, I believe in a group of people. When you have a captain, he's special. He is the captain. And even then, he needs support. You cannot have, okay, he's the captain, he take care of everything. No. He's, Tom Brady is not the only captain in his football team. There's one for the special team. There's one for the defense or whatever. It's the same thing in hockey. You need leadership. You need more than one guy. So example for us, I think with the Yotes, we have strong leadership. We don't have captain, but we have strong leadership. Really strong. Ladder, Strawley, Kells, Crosser, Biggs. That is solid. And we have other guys who have leadership who are not in our leadership group, but they're really strong leader. How we should manage that during games? I think during the game it's too late. During the game is time to deliver. It's between games. It's practice. It's communication with them about what do we do right, what do we do wrong, what should be the next step. Who's in our team needs attention, needs a little bit of love or kick in the butt or to be addressed on some situation. That's the kind of discussion I have with the leadership group. I have discussion at our level and schedule. I have on plenty of different topic. But example, if we were talking earlier about emotion on the bench and guys yelling at each other, well, I will address that with the leadership group. I will bring the leadership group and say, oh, what's going on? What can we do? Who should we address? And sometimes you will have one in the leadership group and say, I'm good friends with so-and-so, and I will talk to him about that, but that has to stop. Okay, good, perfect. So we have that covered and we move on. But I often say, minor hockey is a little bit different. But minor hockey, you're coach, you're the leader of the team, and you need a support cast who will support you, which is your assistant coach and your leader in the team. In the NHL, I'm not the leader of that team. I'm not. I would like to tell you that, but I'm not. There's a player, but I have an influence on the leader. I have an influence on the leadership group of what has to be done. I can control a little bit of what's the plan, where we're going, what we have to address, what kind of attitude we want to have with the leadership group, and those guys has to make it happen. The day I said the first meeting I had with the team this year, that's what I tell them. The sexy word is culture. Everybody talk about culture now. Okay, what's a culture? The culture is when the player will dictate the standard in our team. When the player will dictate how hard we work, how we behave on the bench, how we practice, how we do all those things. When their standard will be higher than mine, wow, now we will have a culture. Now, I always say I can bring a team. I believe in myself. I think can bring a team at 8 out of 10. But that's it. I cannot bring them higher than that. The leadership has to take them from 8 to 10. I can't ask them to be 8 out of 10 and a lot of things and hold them accountable and be alert behind the bench and be tough for practice and meet player and demand them. But when the leader will bring the team from 8 to 10, because coach, it's like your mom. Your mom tells you to do your bed every day, right? Yeah, I wish to see all your face right now. How many doesn't? Not many. But when it's coming from either your friends or your wife or something like that, now it's carrying way more weight. Now you can say, so, okay. If you have roommate and your roommate start to tell you you're messy, okay. Now it carry a lot of weight. When it's mommy who said, pick up your clothes, do this, do that. Yeah. She did that all their life. That's us, the coaches. I repeat my player every day to work harder and everything. The player, yeah. And they go after and they, whatever, Bear said, whatever. But when their teammate tell them, hey, you need to work harder. Ooh, that hit home. That's, you have a great leadership when your players start to coach each other. Now you're moving from 8 to 10. Now you're heading in the right direction. Now you start to have a culture. That is where you want to be.
Fantastic. I'm going to ask you just one more question and then we'll shut it down. What are your feelings about players coaching each other on the bench, especially if it takes the form of a negative interaction from a more senior to junior player, like less capable or more experienced players?
Okay, there's a two-part. How I feel about player coaching each other, that is for me fantastic. That often, example, I'm on the bench and Christina will say, hey, Johnny's on the ice. You can't do that. I will say to the player, okay, Christina, tell him when he's coming back. When he's coming back on the ice, make sure you tell him, because that will carry a lot of weight. And that put the ownership on you as well, Christina. You need to own it. You want our team to play better, so you own it. But Christina, you need to do it right, though. And if you don't do it right, that's where we need to talk about that. How to talk to each other, how to help each other to be better. Sometimes it happened with our team. The start of the season, the guys, the way they were talking to each other, I was saying to the guys, do you think you made him better by that comment? Do you think he feel good about himself? Do you think in the next shift he will be better? Not really. Why did you do it then? Did you do it to help him or to make him worse? If you do that to help him, to help the team, great. Tell him the right way. Don't tell him by making him feel bad or useless. It's the reverse. We need you. We need you to be better. We need you in that role. We need you to get that done. You know, that's an important job. There's no bad job here. You need to get it done. That's super important. And when your players start to do that and explaining the little detail and the breakout, the positioning or the tracking or picking up stick on box out, and when does the players start to coach each other, that carry 10 times more weight than the coach. Coach, we can pretend or we can pump our chest, but the player will have more leadership than us. When you're capable of making your player coaching each other and holding each other accountable, you will see now suddenly you will be a much better coach.
Thank you so much for taking the time today to talk to all of our coaches in Arizona. Just so everyone knows, our next coach chat will be next Monday, the 28th, and then we have the final one on March 21st. Bear, is there any words of advice that you want to send our coaches off with before we end the call today?
First of all, thanks everyone to give me the opportunity to talk to you and to be here. I really appreciate it. I'm, like you can see, I'm passionate by coaching and I love it. I could talk for hours, but two things. First, be open-minded. You know, what you know today, it's not good enough tomorrow. You know, I can tell you right away, what we did today, the Coyotes, this year, we will not do the same thing next year because it will not be good enough. We need to find ways to be better. Even if, let's say, our forecheck is the best in the league, next year will not be good enough. We need to find a way to be better. So be open-minded at changing thing and improving thing. Look everywhere, be student of the game. There's something somewhere. All of you here on the call, I can sit with you and you have something to teach me. You have something to teach me on leadership, on relationship with player, on maybe positioning and face. It can be X and O's, can be something. Every coach is better than me at something. You know, it's for sure. So be open-minded, learn from everybody, and have confidence. Often too many coaches don't change things because they don't have the confidence. They think, oh, I know that system or that way to do things. And if I change and I'm wrong, I might not work, and they don't trust themselves. Trust yourself. If you're as good as yesterday, you're not good enough. So get better, try new things, improve the way you communicate. Don't stand still. Doesn't work.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And thank you, coaches, for everyone taking their time today. This was recorded and it'll be shared with everyone on this call, and we'll see you all next week.
Thank you.